Welcome back, everyone. So when we left off on this Miata, I was dealing with a particularly weird idling problem, and well, I'll show you what I did to fix it. So what was happening was, you'd be at a you'd be at a traffic light, and you'd push in the clutch, put it into first, clutch fully, disengaged, and the idle would somewhat hover somewhere around 1500 or more RPM, and then it would drop down like it's supposed to. And it would do this. It didn't do this last year, and it's the first year it's done this. And well, I'll show you what I did to fix it. So normally, when it's cold, the idle will be slightly elevated. Now it's about 1500 RPM. And then as it warms up, it should drop down. That's all well and good. But once the engine is warmed up, it should idle at or below 1000 RPM. I think it's 750, 800 RPM is where it should be. And that's all controlled by the computer through this electronic idle control solenoid, which is, I think, down there. Now, what happened to me is this throttle stopped through somehow was out of adjustment. I don't know how that happened, just from sitting, but I backed it off a little bit, just a tiny little bit, and it solved the problem. And now it idles like it's supposed to. I'm going to let it warm up a little bit. I've got to do an oil change on this car. I don't normally change my own oil anymore because it's really just a task that I don't need to do. It's something that anyone can do, and sometimes it costs almost as much to pay someone to do it as it is to do it yourself. But this car I don't let anybody touch because I'm really super anal about that stuff. I want this car to last a long time, and trying to find a quality mechanic that will change an oil in a car like this at flat rate and not break things like the splash shield, which I'll show you in a minute. The one that's on this car is annihilated, and it's mostly from oil change shops, just not caring, breaking bolts off and that kind of thing. So I got a new splash shield for it from Miata. This was I think to have this thing shipped to my house, purchase price and all, it was under $100 bucks. I think it was a little under $100 bucks. I think it was 80, 90 bucks or so. But the one that's on there is hitting the ground. It's like deformed and cracked, and there's pieces missing off of it. So we're gonna just replace that. But I've got to warm up the oil. I got to give it a quick little run. So I'm going to go get some coffee. And it should be good enough to get the oil flowing nicely. I'm going to put some Mobil 1 synthetic. And this good quality oil filter. This is what I put in there before. I also had to pick up some ramps because this thing sounds so sweet. It's like a brand new car. It's 25 years old. It's an antique this year. And just a good running little car. So let's go get some coffee or something. Alright. Now, another thing I want to do to this car this year, I want to put 4 tires on it, but I really want to get it buffed. And I don't feel that I have the skills or the patience necessary to do a good job. So that I'm going to hire out. There's a shop not too far from here that's what they do, and that's where a lot of the locals who have high-end classics go to get their paint detail, their cars detailed. And what I want them to do is kind of go over it with the DA buffer. I don't want any paint taken off. It just has whirl marks all over the car, and some of the paint is original and some of it is newer. The paint that's on the hood, I believe, is original. And because the car was always garaged, shows really no signs of any fading or anything, so that's good. But even a faded Miata, I believe, can be buffed down to a nice high luster, so that's always good. But the tires on this car are crap. They're Chinese tires, no names, bargain barrel. You can tell when you push the car, it doesn't seem to behave so nicely. So I want to get those taken off, put some good tires on it. She's an old car, but she still drives like she was just built yesterday. Alright, I found another coffee place. So the idling is perfect. It's idling exactly as it's supposed to. No funny business. So I got plenty of heat here, so you know the engine's nice and toasty. God, the blower in this thing is so noisy. What the hell? Anyway, yeah, it's like, but that's just how these old brush motors were. I mean, there's not much you can do about it. It's not like it has 300,000 miles on it or anything, so it's not really warm. But I might pull the motor apart, maybe look at the brushes at some point, see if there's something that can be done. Maybe, you know, it's possible there could be some debris, but I don't think so. Nice little wait for the light. The engine runs fantastic, though. My God. I can imagine what this car is going to look like, all buffed and fluffed and polished and sealed and whatever they got to do. I'm just not looking forward to the build. They kind of charge a bit of money for that, a couple $100, $400 I think, to do a good fluff and buff. And that's the DA buffer, minimal paint loss. Because when you buff a car, you are losing paint, and that's just how it goes. You know, you're buffing paint off the finish is what you're really doing, and you want to minimize that paint loss. All right, I'm gonna go get me some caffeine. Be right back. Don't go anywhere. All right. Well, I've got some good news and I got some bad news. Well, the good news is I got my coffee. That was uneventful. Bad news is, as I was sitting in my car enjoying it, the engine running and the heat on, well, I caught the unfamiliar or familiar odor of burning oil. And not like burning oil from an exhaust, I mean like burning on a manifold or something. Well, yeah. So that happened. So I popped the hood and I poked around and I found that my camshaft. Man, my camshaft position sensor is leaking. Now that's not a big deal. I mean, it really isn't a big deal. I have a seal to put on it. It's not that bad. Okay, so I got her up on ramps. I like these ramps because they're low profile. The car rolls up nicely, and there's a nice ridge to prevent you from overshooting the ramps. Now, my father has an old set of steel ramps, which I used to use until I overshot the ramp. Oh, that was a good time. Destroyed my rocker panel on one of my vehicles. I forget which one it was, but overshooting the ramp is not something you want to do if it can be avoided at all. Okay, it looks like I don't have to pull the shield off to change the oil. I for some reason thought I had to, but the oil plug is right there. The only thing you can't do, I think, is get the oil filter off. Let's just get the shield out of the way. I have a brand new one to put back anyway. So on my little journey that I just took, I found that I have an oil leak. But that's okay, I know exactly where it is and how to fix it. I have the parts already on hand to get it done. And so I'm going to get that done. I'm not going to do it today. I might go for a cruise later on tonight, but I'll do it later on. What's happening is my camshaft position sensor O-ring is leaking. Now, if you've ever worked on an NA Miata, you know how hard that is to get to. So I'm not looking forward to it. I'll show you what I mean. It's right over here. This little doohickey. That's the old school crankshaft position sensor. And yeah, it's kind of a pain in the ass to get to. But I have to change that seal. I forgot to do it when I initially did the timing belt job, but yeah, time has come to get that done. But other than that, no other leaks. Alright, so I got the splash shield off. Yeah, you don't need to take the splash shield off to do the oil change. But look at all this oil down here. Clearly there's no leaks. What's happening is when the oil filters change, which is right stuffed up into here, the oil runs down and collects over here. And that's what that's all about. So, not sure what I'm going to do about that. I mean, I'm going to have to pressure wash it. I have a pressure washer, I just don't have a garden hose. Maybe I should go pick one up. But yeah, I'm going to try to clean this up as best I can. But you can see the new radiator's holding up nicely, no leaks. Everything under here is in really good shape. There's no rust. I mean, yeah, that's it for rust on this whole car. That's why I bought it. But what I'm going to do is take a wire brush and kind of clean this stuff up a little bit and put some undercoating on it. But looks like I might have a transmission leak, a very minor one. Possible, very possible. But you're not going to buy a 25-year-old car that has no leaks. It's just not going to happen. I wonder what I have for engine degreaser. Okay, we got the splash shield replaced. Oil is drained out. Changed the filter, the gasket, the oil plug. Look at how nice that looks, though. But I think I was wrong in my assumption that it was the oil change places that was ruining this thing. Oh, I think it was the previous owner who probably ran it aground. So I apologize for you oil change guys. I sprayed a little bit of that, you know, make it look nice stuff on the control arms, just whatever. The thing about control arms is they can be replaced if I ever need to replace them, but the chassis of the car is solid though. That's always nice. But yeah, I've got a bit of a problem. See, I can't put oil in the car because I'm not on a level surface and I have nothing to measure oil with, so I have to kind of take a guess as to how much oil is going in there and then get it into the garage and let it settle down and then fill it right. I gotta get myself a measuring device. So yeah, let me I'm gonna back it off the ramps. Without starting the engine. Should be able to do that. Oops, shit, I almost screwed myself there. Pushing the clutch. Use some engine braking. Ooh, yeah, that would hurt. The door is slammed. Brakes, 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 brakes. There we go. Get the ramps out of there. I'm not going to do a how-to video on this because there's a really good one out there that I couldn't top. But we're going to replace the crank or camshaft angle sensor seal. And it's actually a pretty simple process. And I can't believe I didn't do it sooner. But I'm going to disconnect these connectors here. I'm going to loosen this bolt, swing this down right here. And there's a bolt behind it. But I have to scribe the exact position that that sensor is currently at. Make sure I mark it. That way I don't throw the timing off. Okay, so a couple of things. Number one, there is a bolt back there, a long hex bolt. That is the adjuster. And then these two bolts clamp it down into position. Before you loosen any of these, you want to scribe a line indicating the position. I would use something like maybe a metal pick, like this one right here. What we're going to do is we're going to mark exactly where it is in a way that allows us to go back to it during reassembly. See, scratch a nice little mark there so you cannot screw it up. I'll put another one just to be sure. Okay. I was going to take this out, but I'm scratching at my firewall trying to do that, and I'm not getting anywhere with it. So we're going to just take the seal off with a seal puller hook thingy here, and we're just going to do it in place. This is supposed to be keyed to go in one way so that we shouldn't be able to screw that up, but I've already rotated the oh, I just broke the seal. Sweet. Let's take a look at that seal. Where's my phone? It fell down somewhere. Oh, there you are. Okay. Here's the old seal. Yeah, it's good and brittle and hard, and it definitely was leaking. Yeah, it's beyond its prime. So, I'm just going to kind of clean this up a little bit, and then we'll put the new seal on. Alright, the new seal's on the part and oiled, as it should be. Now we're going to just try to get this back in there somehow. I'm not really sure how that's going to work out, but I'm going to have to kind of test position it, maybe use a mirror to help me guide it. I got one of those, so I'm going to try that. Alright, so I've got that loosely put, I've got the sensor clamped down. We're going to see if it starts. It's all hooked up, and then if it starts, I'm going to just finish the job, but if it doesn't, I'll have to take it apart again, flip it around, because it's really weak. The way they keyed it in, it looks like it wouldn't take much to put it in 180 degrees out. Let's see what happens. Okay. She runs. Cool. Alright. I saw oil down this way, and I washed it off, and it didn't come back. There was oil running down this part of the head here from this sensor, and that's not back either. There still happens to be some kind of oil residue that has not completely burned off yet, and I think that's what I'm actually smelling. The exhaust goes straight down here. It looks dry to me, so it'll probably go away on its own. There's a little bit of an odor, but it's not as bad as it was. And this side looks pretty dry. So that's probably all it is. Nothing to worry about.